All right, and we're live. Episode 28. I'm going to start us off hot right away. Did you see Bob's new haircut?
No.
Really?
No, but we're talking about, do I need this computer today?
Have you seen any of the Stanley Cup partying videos?
Yes.
Well, Bob isn't really partying. He's just kind of standing there while everyone else is.
Yeah, I saw him in the background of Sam Bennett's speech, and he's like sitting there. He's got like a towel around his thing.
Yeah.
It's just like perfect posture.
Right. Yeah.
All 140 of them.
Bob, he's got like the flow going during the playoffs and the finals and everything. But now he has buzzed his head, which
Sick.
I guess he does after every season. And they were asking him about it, so there's the buzz cut there you can see in this video.
There's your YouTube thumbnail.
Yep. And they were asking him about it, and he said that it's a new fresh start, just getting ready for next offseason and next year.
Isn't that what people do when they're like
Just a mentality thing for Bob.
going through the ringer? Like they're like the first step of rehab is they like shave their head.
I don't know. Bob could be going through that.
That's how tough the NHL regular season is. And you go through playoffs, he's like, I got to shave my head.
Right.
Man. I got to.
Yeah, he let his hair grow out that whole time, and now it looked good. And now he's got to shave it because now he's like, okay, I'm getting ready for next season.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I love the mentality of
Just
that.
a Bob mentality thing.
I'm going no stand today. Holding the mic.
So how cool is that?
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, I like the mentality of it. He looks nails, even though I know he's probably no more than 175 pounds, right?
Yeah, he's tiny.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just staring at him doing this video right now. I should probably stop because it's distracting me, but he just looks like a Russian netminder, man.
Yeah, he does. Next note, I see that the Oilers, Bush is asking for 8 years by $10 million a year. You got to think if he's given that contract, McDaddy's like, I'm out. See you guys later. Like I can't do it.
Yeah, let that guy go. Stan Bowman, let that guy go.
Well, Stan's not going to do that.
You don't think so? $10 million for a guy who can't skate backwards?
Lotsy, I'm a Blackhawks fan. I've had to live through the Stan Bowman years.
Oh yeah.
And now guess what? Now the Oilers get to.
Right.
So, yes, he's going to do whatever it takes to make McDaddy leave.
That's heartbreaking.
Well,
I feel for Oilers fans.
it is what it is. Well, I don't know.
McGregor Sinclair.
I mean, McDavid, right. You got to think, like, McDavid's working hard, and then Bush just goes out there. I don't know.
Bush doesn't work on the things he needs to work on. Otherwise, he'd be half decent at the things he needs to work on.
So
he's got a Bush bomb. That's it.
Yeah, but I got to think McDavid's like, I'm out. If he's taking up that much of the cap space, and then Leon's already at 14,
yeah,
and then McDavid's going to have to re-sign. Yeah, I think he's looking at this like, come on.
Yeah, like there's $24 million gone with two players, and that doesn't even include my salary of how much? It's like $13 million, $12 million.
Yeah, but he'll probably get more now because now the cap's going up.
Man, I don't know. They can't.
But
they
you
can't
got two players. You got one who does a 787 bus turn when the puck is turned over, and you got one who causes the turnover, which makes the other one do a bus turn.
Yeah.
You got the one who actually turns it over and the one who bus turns after it is turned over.
You know, this is if you're an Oilers fan.
So that's $24 million for the puck to go the other way, and you're probably fishing out of your net in about 5 seconds.
Yeah. If anybody knows that, it's Connor McDavid because he's probably on the ice with them. He's on the back check.
Wow. He does a little bit of a turn too. I'm not going to say too much about that, but he's not exactly a stop and start guy.
I'm going to stay away from that one because I think he's pretty good.
You watch highlights of Gus Forsling and how tight he is on McDavid during the finals, and then watch what McDavid does when Gus Forsling takes it off his stick.
Oh, you're talking about swing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not exactly a slam on the brakes. So.
Yeah, I can't argue on that one.
But this is what we talk about the Oilers. Don't do things the right way.
Yeah.
So, okay, do you have anything else on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, for the Oiler fans that are concerned about potentially losing McDavid, I would say, I think you're bang on, man. Look for if the Oilers end up signing Bouchard for $10 million, 8 by 10, I think that's the moment as an Oilers fan I would be very concerned about McDavid returning.
Yeah, like I'm already concerned. And he could, I mean, especially because he's like, having said that, or he said, however, we're going to see what this offseason brings. And then Leon's like, yeah, I'd love for him to stay here, but he's got to do what's best for him and his family, you know?
Who's he talking about? McDavid?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Maybe they're both like just kind of secretly saying, we'll see what happens with the Bush contract. That's what they mean. Yeah, good for his family.
Yeah, but Leon locked himself up there.
Yeah, Leon, I mean, it is what it is with him.
So he's like, go on without me.
Yeah, his contract, exactly. He's like, see you, buddy. Want the best for you.
Yeah.
Bush just signed for $10 million. I'm already on this sinking ship. There's a life raft.
You take it.
Yeah, you take it.
You take it.
There's room for one.
I'll stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's room for one, and it's got to be you.
Love you, bye.
But then you're going to lose Corey Perry because he's got to go somewhere they're going to win.
Yep.
So
there's almost win.
Or almost win.
5 years in a row.
Yeah.
Poor
the guy's
guy.
played more hockey than anyone in the sport probably. The last
That's crazy.
5-6 years has nothing to show for it, unfortunately. But it's not his fault. He has to share the ice with other players on the Oilers.
Pray for Sinks.
Last really quick note. What about hometown Winnipeg boy Taser going back to the Jets? That's exciting as a Blackhawks fan.
Yeah, I mean, as a Jets fan and just a Manitoba guy, I think everyone's excited about that. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's Jonathan Toews.
Yeah.
How old is he?
I think he's like 36 or 37.
Mid to late 30s?
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to lie. I don't think he's going to be 29-year-old Jonathan Toews right off the bat or at all.
No.
But you got one of the best leaders to ever play the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You've got an extremely intelligent hockey player.
Yep.
Those two things alone, I mean,
holds guys to a high standard.
Yeah. I mean, we've all heard the story. I mean, his nickname was Captain Serious.
Yeah.
You don't get that for being a bad teammate or being lazy.
Absolutely not.
You know. So, anyways, my point is, I think it's great. I think it's going to be a slow start. I saw a little picture of like his breakdown of his contract, which I found pretty interesting. I think it's a $2 million base.
Yeah.
And then every 20 games it increases by $500,000.
Yeah, it's something like he gets $500,000 per like 20 games he plays or something.
Something like that. So maybe he can, with his bonuses, it's anywhere from probably 2 to like 4.5.
And then if they make playoffs at something, then it's like if they make it past the first round, and then it keeps going from there. It's like $250K a round or something.
Right. Which I think is just when I saw that, the structure of that, I'm like, okay, maybe the Taves camp and the Jets camp feel the same way that I do, where it's like, okay, we'll see what guy we're getting here, because it's been so long. It's been like 3 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, and he had what I guess was an autoimmune disease, but he's been over in I think in India and doing like some natural healing, Aaron Rodgers type stuff.
Yeah.
So if he comes out of the gate flying, I'm really not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what. Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's just going to be interesting. I will not be surprised if he's Jonathan Toews. I will not be surprised if he's just a shell of him.
Either way,
at the beginning,
I think he helps the Jets.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I'm not saying the Jets have poor leadership. I think they actually have a decent room from an outsider's perspective of what I know, but I think he drastically improves it.
Yeah.
And he's a hometown boy. Like, it's just different.
Yeah.
You know? So I think all around, I think it's pretty sick, and I'm excited to see him wear that jersey.
Yeah, that'll be phenomenal.
I think everyone hopes that he's just going to beat Jonathan Toews.
The Jets were President's Trophy this year, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By like a hair over the Capitals.
Right.
And I think there was one other team that was kind of fighting for it too. But actually, it might have been Dallas. And then they went on a huge skid, didn't they, prior to the playoffs?
I think they were supposed to be up there, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm excited to see JT in a Jets jersey.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
As a Hawks fan, I'm sure you're excited too.
Well, JT, yeah. I know you mean Jonathan Toews, but I think of John Tavares, and those are two very different players.
You think so?
Yes. You cannot compare Captain Serious with John Tavares.
I mean, I'm definitely not, but I don't know. I mean, I think the JT in Toronto. That's a good point. I should not. Well, no, but people used to call Jonathan Toews JT.
I guess maybe from Winnipeg.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I think John Tavares is one of the more responsible forwards on the Leafs. But correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
You don't think so?
I don't know. Didn't we just watch him lose a draw, then lose his center for like Florida to make them look like idiots off the draw?
Oh, I'm sure we did.
Yeah.
This is where your memory kicks in.
Right.
I just got to rely on that. I've learned to trust that memory inside that head of yours.
Just lose it clean.
But I thought Tavares was like was supposed to be a two-way forward.
I think
older guy, responsible.
I'd like to think so. Just the Leafs don't do anything.
Yeah.
Captain Sirius has 3 cups. You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Right. Like, what are we talking about?
Also, this might be irrelevant, so maybe that means I shouldn't mention it, but you know me, I'm going to anyways. I'm pretty sure the Islanders went to 2 straight conference finals the 2 years after JT left.
Yes. They had like Matt Barzal.
Kyle Palmieri.
The boys, yeah. Kyle Palmieri, Brock Nelson, Anders Lee.
I think those were Lou Lamoriello teams, weren't they?
I believe so, yeah. I think coached by Barry Trotz, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So, anyways.
I picked them to win the cup one year in my bracket. I was like, these guys play playoff-style hockey, yeah. And they made the conference finals.
See,
just missed it.
People don't like the Islanders because they're boring, but I think they're boring because they play a good playoff style, but they also are boring because of their actual personnel.
Yeah.
Like they don't have much firepower.
Right.
Which is probably why they never won, because you look at a team like the Panthers where it's like they play the right way, which some people think is boring.
I was going to say, I feel like they play boring hockey as well.
But then they've got the firepower where it's like, oh, these guys are also sick.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's why the Islanders fans, when they re-signed Kyle Palmieri for 1 or 2 years like they did a few weeks ago, they're all just like, oh, are you kidding? That's so Islanders.
But Kyle Palmieri, I mean, he's got some skill, right?
Yeah, I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
You put that guy onto any of the teams that we just watched in the playoffs, I think the teams get better.
Right.
But to the Islanders' point, it's like, can we sign someone who's just like not a Kyle Palmieri?
Right. Well, they moved on from Lou Lamoriello, right?
Yeah, they did. They've got the previous assistant GM for the Lightning is now their head guy.
And they still have Matty Barzal and those guys, right?
Yes.
Although it looks like they're trying to trade Noah Dobson. And I've seen Oilers people talking about trading for Sorokin and Dobson.
Well, okay. Any team can want to trade for Sorokin. Doesn't mean you're going to get him.
Wow.
Why would they ever give up Sorokin?
It also doesn't mean you're going to win either.
Right.
I think they're just saying they're in 2 different spots. And, Sorokin could be like, oh, okay, Oilers are a contender until within the next month when Bush signs. And then, the Islanders are kind of like, they're starting to lean towards rebuild with the trade of Brock Nelson and to a contender and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Why would you get rid of a guy? I mean, I think he's my age. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to rebuild.
Sorokin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's 95.
He is.
So, he's 30. If you're going to rebuild, that's going to probably take you, 2 to 6 years? Or if you're the Buffalo Sabres, 18.
Right. Yeah. Even longer.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
So
you don't know.
Maybe it's not as crazy as I'm thinking, but in my head, I'm just like, if you have a guy like Sorokin in your organization, you just don't get rid of him.
I would think so either.
I don't even know. Like, how do you even, as a GM, what do you accept for a trade for a guy like that? Just a bunch of picks?
I don't
prospects?
know. I don't know. It depends on what you need.
Because if you're trading him, you're like you said, you're rebuilding. That's the only reason to trade that guy. Varley, I love him, but like, how many years does that guy got left?
I don't know.
He's older than
Couple,
Bob,
maybe.
isn't he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because I'm pretty sure when Bob came in,
Varley's been around forever.
Yeah, and Bob and Varley were teammates, but I think Bob was younger at that time.
Where?
Washington? No, Philly?
Varley was on Philly?
I thought they were teammates.
Maybe.
Was Bob in Washington?
No.
Or am I just thinking Varley was in Washington, Bob was in
Could
Philly?
Be. Bob was in Philly, then he got traded to Columbus for Money Mace, who had won the Calder.
For who?
Money Mace? Steve Mason? You never heard him called Money Mace?
No, I've never heard that.
Yeah, so they
Southpaw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got traded for him. Bob won like 2 Vezinas on Columbus, and then Money Mace. I don't really know what happened.
I think he played. I mean, he played for a while after that, but
yeah, wasn't the same.
Money Maze. Why do they call him Money Maze? Do you have a huge contract?
I think so. Yeah, he signed for like a ton of money to Philly,
and then he hit the beach.
Yeah,
that's tough. I remember him. He was a Vaughn guy, wasn't he? Money Mace.
For a while, then he went to CCM.
Money Mace. Sorry, what?
Then he went to CCM.
Okay.
When he won the Calder, he was a Vaughn guy, though.
Go figure.
Then he went to CCM and everything went downhill, except for he made way more money.
Right. So what do we got today, Stu?
So, okay, that's all our quick little things to get out of the way. Today we're going to talk about being a goalie parent, which I thought was interesting because, so this is based on an article I read in InGoal Mag last week about Martin Brodeur talking about his advice on being a goalie parent. And I thought this was interesting because you're a goalie parent. Yep. So you can relate to this. Mm-hmm. You can be like, yeah, that makes sense. And you can give your comments on what do you think being the best goalie parent looks like, and yeah, how can you help your goalie the best as a goalie parent, because that's what everybody wants, right?
Yeah,
is to help your goalie.
So do you want me to tap into my opinion prior to what you got there? Or do you want to do that first?
Why don't we go through some of the things they mentioned in the InGoal Mag article?
Yeah.
And then I'll let you take it away.
I can probably feed off the familiarity.
Yeah, so I'll break some of this down. So in this article, Marty Brodeur is talking about with his kids growing up, as far as coaching, how they play the game, their technique and style, he was pretty hands-off. Because he didn't want to put pressure on their coaches, their goalie coaches, and their coaches to feel like they can't coach them because Marty Brodeur is like standing on the glass. It's like if I tell your kid to do something, it's like, did I do that right, Marty?
Yeah.
Is that good, Marty? You okay with that?
Imagine that?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're talking about the guy that has most games played in NHL history as a goalie at 1,266, the most wins in NHL history at 691, and the most shutouts at 125.
So you're talking probably about the best goalie ever.
Right. So then you're going to be like, I'm going to tell your goalie what to do. Tell your kid what to do.
Yeah, we're on the ice coaching his kid, and he's on the other side of the glass, like just staring at us.
I would
with
be
his arms
terrified.
crossed.
Yeah.
I'd be like, sorry.
Yeah.
Marty, am I okay?
So his whole thing is he didn't want to put pressure on the coaches and feel like they can't coach them.
Yeah, that I definitely understand.
So do you want me to tell you more his viewpoint, what he focuses on with his kids for goaltending? Or
yes.
you want to take it away? So his whole thing is that he focuses more with them on process and preparation. You know, how are they preparing for games? What's their process of getting better? And how are they preparing for games, and how are they evaluating themselves after games? And one thing that I really like that he mentioned that's kind of not really necessarily goaltending parent, but just goaltending in general, is after a bad game or if he's in a slump, Marty Brodeur asks himself, do I have no regrets after the game? Like, did I play as hard as I can? Did I work as hard as I can? Did I compete? Did I fight through traffic? All that kind of stuff. And he says if he feels like he didn't play well and he didn't do something that he should have done, or even if he did play well, then he'd evaluate, and his thing was you have to be a really good self-evaluator.
Okay.
So that's kind of his overall approach is I'm not going to tell my kids how to stop a puck, but I can help them develop habits that will help them stop pucks in the future.
So he preached all that to his kids.
What he talked about with his kids, yes, was preparation and yes, process and evaluation, like I just mentioned.
Okay. I think that's a good way of going about it. I mean, to a certain degree, I think every guy who's in our shoes, and when I say our, I mean someone who was a goalie and has kids who are a goalie, is going to have there's going to be little differences, right? So like you mentioned how he focuses a lot on the preparation side of things and the evaluation side of things with his kids, which I would 100% agree with, because that's I mean, it's very important, but it's also it takes away that that variable of being Marty Brodeur on the other side of the glass, putting pressure on the goalie coach that's working on the technical side.
Right.
Right. I guess my question, and I don't know if he mentioned this in the article, was from my point of view, I've been on the ice with my son, who, mind you, is very young. He's 6 years old. Handful of times where it's like, you know what, we got time. Let's go out for stick and puck. I don't have a lesson. Go out there with him and work on a few things. I'd be curious to know if Marty ever did that, or if he would do that, and if he wouldn't, why not? Did he get into any private stuff? Because if Marty's on the ice with the kid, then it's completely different than you take away the variable of the coach.
I don't know. They didn't mention that.
Okay.
I think mostly because maybe in this context, it's for practice or it's within a team context, so it doesn't really matter as much.
Right.
You know,
which that I could not understand more. Now, so from my point of view, my son's about to go into travel hockey this year. He's playing 8U, and I already know, because it's already been brought to my attention, that they might want me to come on the ice and help. And that'll be helping with pushing pucks around, you know, maybe coaching the team and whatever, right? But also, obviously, I'll be focusing and I'll be taking care of the goalies. One of which is going to be my son.
Right.
So again, the variable of putting pressure on another goalie coach is gone, because there is no other goalie coach on the ice.
Right. Right.
Here's the problem with that, and I'm assuming Marty either went through this, which eventually led him to this point of view. I don't know what you call it. I get on the ice with my 6-year-old son, and I tell him, I say, okay, I put him through the normal lesson criteria that we do with every other goalie.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes, he's telling me that I'm telling him that I don't know what I'm talking about, and he needs to do it this way.
Right.
You know, and I'm talking simple stuff like, hey, let's go on the goal line and do some C cuts to the blue and back. And he's like, no, it's time to go. It's time to get into the reverse and work on some post to post.
I gotta stop some pucks,
man. When are we shooting?
What are we doing?
And now, keep in mind, he's 6, so like he's like, well, when are we making glove saves? When are we working on glove saves? Like,
right.
And then we end up just doing that. So
right.
like, there's no structure to the lesson really. But from my experience, I have worked with 5 to 7-year-olds private lesson where you basically have that at least a 30-minute window. Probably not an hour, but a 30-minute window of their attention, and they're going to listen to you.
Right.
But when it's your kid, they're like, they don't have the ability, and I don't, in my opinion, he's not old enough for me to have the conversation of, hey, I'm dad. When we go on the ice,
right.
I'm coach.
Right.
As soon as we get off that ice, I'm dad again.
Yeah.
He's not old enough yet to understand that, so I haven't explained that to him yet.
Right, because he's got to have fun out there.
100%.
Mainly. Yeah.
So when he's like, Dad, can we just make some glove saves? I'm like, I might fight it a little bit because I know he needs to work on skating and try and get him to do that as much as possible.
Right.
But eventually I'm like, yeah, let's just work on glove saves. Otherwise, he starts crying and screaming at me, calling me every name in the book because I'm his dad.
This is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm getting frustrated.
I just watched Bob make 4 blocker saves this morning in his skate. What are we doing?
Yeah, why are we working on skating? Where's the blocker save? But like I get frustrated, and obviously I eat that because I want him to have fun and I want him to enjoy the game that I love.
Number one, he's got to enjoy the game.
100%.
Yeah.
But I'm like, in my head, and this stays in my head, is, son, you watch me play. You've been watching me play for the last 5 or 6 years. Don't you think you can should be listening to what I'm saying? Right. But no, it's just it doesn't work that way. And I think we can all kind of understand a little bit of that, where it's like when it's your parents telling you something to do, you're automatically like a little bit of your brain shuts down. Because
they tell you everything to do all the time, right?
Right.
So now it's like, oh, another place, Dad's got to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I was out here having fun, but now my dad's out here.
Dad's ruining this.
So that's like as a parent of an athlete trying to teach that kid what you know, that's the struggle, is getting them to separate you as the parent and go and then look at you as a coach.
Yeah.
Which I know it just doesn't seem like Marty touched on there, but from
he didn't mention anything about that.
Right. But from what he's talking about in regards to being a parent in the stands while his kid is on the ice with his team and there's potentially a goalie coach out there working with him, 100% understand. Like I've joked to you being like, hey, I'm going to need to pay you to do some lessons with Garner because he doesn't listen to me, right? But at the same time, if we ended up doing that, and I talked to you about doing that with Charles Williams when we're in Jacksonville. Like I'd love for Garner to have a lesson with Charles.
Right.
I'm going to be in the stands. Like I'm not even going to be at the glass near you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in the stands just watching, every time he makes a nice save, go woohoo.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to be like, Stu, what about he's outside of his post.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, right.
You can't do that. This episode of Off Angle is brought to you by Modern Dietetics, the nutrition game plan built for athletes and active families. Whether you're a goalie grinding through the season or a parent fueling future all-stars, Modern Dietetics takes the guesswork out of eating right. With expert guidance, simple meal plans, and athlete-focused support, they make nutrition easy and effective. They've got monthly plans for every level, from just started to full-on lifestyle change, all backed by real sport performance experience. So if you're looking to eat smarter, feel better, and play harder, check out Modern Dietetics today. Visit modern-athletics.com/dietetics for more information.
No, and I feel like, I don't know, I think at least, you and I are at a spot where I feel like we've played a lot of hockey. So like when Garner, for example, goes out and he's going to get coaching from Charles, we're like, yeah, because he'll teach Garner something that we wouldn't have taught him.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he sees it differently.
Yep.
Which is great.
Yeah, and he won't even know that's why I want him to have a lesson with Charles.
Right.
But that doesn't matter. I'm just like, son, you're going on the ice for a goalie practice.
He'll get it either way, whether he knows it or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, just to further that point, the more, in my opinion, if the more goalie coaching you can get from different people, as long as that person is educated, I guess, on the position.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying just go out and get a random goalie lesson with some guy who's never played the position.
Right.
But if you can get those guys who have played the position at a very high level, the more of that, the better.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because you're going to get different tools and different perspectives.
Right, and things that might work for you as an individual, whether it's a mental technique or something that may not have worked for another coach, so they don't even think to teach it.
Yeah,
you know,
100%. Or it could be literally the same thing. Like your approach to teaching a kid how to get into a reverse and how to get out of it might be different than my approach. And my approach, it might not stick with the kid,
right?
Because of how I communicated it, or just my technique of actually getting in,
right?
Whereas yours might click, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that, especially at a young age, for kids, I think it's important to have variety when it comes to coaches.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the whole thing is that you're letting that coach Garner. Yeah. And that's kind of what Martin Brodeur is saying in this is, I want everybody, to coach. I don't want them to feel like they can't coach.
Yeah.
And this is a guy with the most wins in NHL history saying this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that this is good news for every parent. I think, first of all, as a parent, whether you played hockey or not, you can obviously learn things that are useful to goaltending, right? Like, your stick moves in a half moon, for example. You can learn that and tell your kid, hey, this is a good way to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that this is also good news for all goalie parents, because whether you played hockey or not, even Marty Brodeur's like, I'm not telling my kids what to do when they go out on the ice in terms of how to play the position.
Yeah.
So if you don't really know much about goaltending, that's totally good. You send them out there. You and Marty Brodeur are doing the same thing when your kids go on the ice.
100%. I think that's great. Like
he's going out there. He's going to let them coach him. You're sending your kid out there. That coaches are going to coach them too.
Yep. Yeah, it's great for parents.
So it almost takes the pressure off you as a goalie parent to be like, I gotta learn everything about goaltending if I've never played, and then I gotta teach my kid all that so that they'll be good. It's like, you don't really, the pressure's off, sort of.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in my opinion, you're paying for the goalie coach. So
right.
What are you paying for? You're paying for that.
Well, I'm saying, or if they just go out to practice and there's no goalie coach out there.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah. But to me, that's kind of both the same. I mean,
right.
Whether you're paying or not, you're putting your kid on the ice. There's supposed to be professionals out there taking care of it. You don't need to know.
Right.
Now, with that being said, there are some parents that are more vocal with us as coaches and want to know more, and I think that's fine too.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a good thing.
That's great. Yeah.
Because then at least, okay, you said the half moon with the stick. Let's say you have you work on that with a kid, and then you talk to the parent after, and they're like, hey, I saw you were working something with a stick. What were you doing?
Right.
You walk the parent through the half moon.
Right.
They now understand. Kid goes out to play a game.
And they can
doesn't
remind
do
them.
the half moon.
Right.
Then the parent can be like, hey, I don't think he was doing that.
Yeah. You're using your stick the wrong way, or practice or whatever.
Yeah.
So you still want to you're still very engaged as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
This is just in the context of, coaching specifically, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to be a professional goalie for your kid to be a goalie.
To be very, very good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Our parents,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're
Never
Marty
played
Brodeur,
hockey.
but I'm saying my dad was like a football player in high school. My mom was she was a sick volleyball player. I gotta give her credit.
Yeah.
Shout out to Karen. But like no hockey.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, my parents didn't play hockey either.
Right.
And now we both play.
Right.
Which is great.
Played. You still play. Played.
Right. But there's a lot of goalies like that.
Got to remember to do things past tense with me.
Right.
Now.
Well, yeah. Yeah, right. But you can, as a parent, you should still be learning about the position, and I'm sure it'd be very interesting to learn about it too.
Yeah.
Just so you can help your goalie.
Yeah.
But I think and this is kind of where the article closed with it, or Marty Brodeur maybe even mentioned that I can agree with, is as a parent, I'd say the biggest thing you can do to help them as a goalie is something that you are probably already good at just from having life skills. And that is, preparation. How are you preparing to perform? Goal setting, evaluation of practice and games. Like, how did you feel you did? What do you think you could do better? What did, coach mention you can do better? And how can we improve that going forward?
Yeah.
And that's a life skill. That's with anything. Goal setting, performances, whether it's you have to present something. There's all kinds of different ways that you can, quote, perform. And so as a parent, you've done all these things. And it's kind of like the basic rules of what's going to make people successful at anything in life in general, no matter what you do, right? And that's consistency, like we said, goal setting, evaluation. If you can help your goalie with that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter whether you played hockey or not, or whether you played in the NHL for 20 years and have 691 wins.
Yeah, you don't need hockey experience to preach to your kid to hydrate before they go on the ice,
right?
Or whatever, right? Like there's you
and Marty can help your goalies just the same.
Yeah.
He said one of his biggest things was he would ask them questions about their preparation. He said, "Well, how did you feel in warm-ups? What did you eat before the game, and how did that make you feel?" And his whole thing that he was saying that he would tell his kids was that if you prepare the same way, you know exactly how you'll feel. If you start mixing things up, you don't know how it's unknown how you're going to feel and how you're going to perform on the ice.
Yeah.
So again, as a parent, that's something you can help your goalie with.
I think that's
how
awesome.
are you preparing? What are you eating? What do you like to do? And how can we make that consistent so you feel great and are ready to play every game?
Yeah, I think that's a great approach to it.
How can I help you with preparation? How can I help you with evaluation? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the approach to it with a kid too, obviously, is huge. And Marty, to me, does it the right way, where it's almost like after the fact, he's like, okay, what did you eat before the game, or what did you do before the game?
Yeah.
He breaks it down for him because he's trying to help him, but he's not. I think as a parent too, it's easy. Like for me, right? I could be like, okay, where did I have success, or what did I do to have success? Okay, I ate chicken and rice.
Right.
So I could be like, Garner, you have to have chicken and rice. But again, because I'm a parent, he's going to be like, no. I don't want to have chicken and rice.
Right. Or something different may make him feel better in the net.
Right, 100%. But then if I'm like, Garner, what did you have when you had that shutout 2 weeks ago before? He's like, well, I had chicken and rice. I'm like, what did you have when you let in 6 the other day? He's like, oh, I had a hot dog. I'd be like, okay. Interesting. Which one do you think you should have for 4 games from now? And he's like, chicken and rice.
Right.
Right,
yeah.
So it's about the approach too, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's awesome, man. I think I'm learning a lot just because obviously Marty Brodeur is the best of the best in this position that we have dedicated our lives to, and now that my son is attempting to. So I obviously have a lot of respect for how he handles himself and how he is. His situation is just so similar to what mine is right now.
Yeah.
So I love that approach, and I'm probably going to adopt it, to be honest with you.
And what's interesting about Marty is that the way that there's a lot of different ways to stop the puck. I mean, every goalie in the NHL is a different style.
Yeah, Marty proved how many different ways.
Right. We think some are better than others, but Marty was taught to play goalie in a different time than his kids were.
Yeah.
So his kids are, butterfly-style goalies, as far as I know from having seen and played against them.
They seem athletic.
Right,
though.
But they're athletic.
Yeah, they were watching Dad's highlights.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard for him to help them with style necessarily. Yeah. He can help them with mental habits and preparation, like he said, but his style is so different than what's being played today.
It's like that's what made Marty so sick. Was like
Right.
most people who tried to play like Marty are extremely inconsistent.
Right.
But he was
Just
the
good
most
at it.
consistent
Right.
ever. You know.
Right. But again, it's like, as a parent, Marty's like, I can't really coach my kids' style, but I can help them with some of the techniques for how they play.
Yeah.
And some things from their style. And so, again, you and Marty can be pretty much the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can teach
As a
Garner
goalie
how to
parent.
play the same style I did, but he's just gonna be like, "What are you gonna teach me, Dad? How to fish the puck out of the net?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Don't forget who was watching you the last 5 years."
Teach me how to give up 6 every game.
He's like, "Oh, okay. So my dad's gonna coach me. So I'm gonna have the
Great.
slowest low blocker hand."
Right. Can we get somebody else out here?
Yeah.
Anybody else out here?
Where's Uncle Stu? Stu, I need some help. I need to work on this.
Like, what are we doing?
He would too. He would absolutely roast me.
That is hilarious.
He always gives it to us. He gives it to you too. Like you're not Garner's dad, but like
Right.
he's watched you. You're you to him. So
Right.
even with you, he's like, you and Stu, like you guys got to stay on your feet more. Like you guys just let way too many bar down goals.
You
in.
guys are brutal, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't get out of this either.
Yeah.
Garner.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's why it's like maybe I should let Charles coach him.
All right. Let's pull up your live barn, Garner.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's dissect this.
See how you did last game.
Yeah. It looks like you're in the RVH during a breakaway. What are you doing here?
Yeah. That's funny.
Which actually happens a lot
Well,
with him.
Right. But he sees Hellebuck and he's like, nice.
Yeah.
I could do that.
No, he sees you, and he's like, Stu's always in the reverse. And then I'm
Wow.
like, he's not in it on a breakaway.
Right.
Garner.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't realize that everything we do there's a time and place.
Yeah.
It's situational.
But then it's just a head shake. It's like, whatever. dude,
Right.
Whatever.
He's like, I see him do it, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right. I was the same way, I feel like.
But this is where he's 6.
There's so much nuance into goaltending and everything that we do,
Yeah.
So I think, you can help coach your goalies, but I think the biggest thing is to help them prepare, help them develop good habits, help them be accountable, help them evaluate goals. Did you fight through traffic? Is there a way you could have controlled that rebound? Should you have controlled that rebound? And that kind of stuff, helping them evaluate games and practices and go through things and helping them devise a plan to improve, I think are all phenomenal things.
Yep. And you can do that whether you're Marty Brodeur or
Yeah.
someone who's never played.
Yeah. Because just as a person, you have to do all those things in whatever you do, and
Yeah.
everything that you do too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely cool hearing that, Marty Brodeur has this exact same approach. Of all people, Marty Brodeur could be the ones like, no.
No.
Let me tell you how you should do this.
Yeah.
Right. But he's not.
He's not.
So if he's not, then in my opinion, no one should be like that.
Well, that's kind of right. And if I remember, I think that's kind of how they close it. They're like, if one of the best goalies ever play is like this, you don't have to put too much pressure on yourself to coach your goalies.
Yeah, 100%. So where does this might be getting off the rails, but in your opinion, where does the advantage come from your dad being Marty Brodeur?
Well,
if there is
his
one.
experience, for sure.
So the
His
fact
experience.
that, okay, but how does that help the kid out? The kid goes to
Well, he's
him asking for advice, or
Well, yeah, he said they do all the time. But yes, absolutely mental. Like it's hard to just inject 1,200 NHL games of game management
yeah,
into somebody.
anything.
But Marty can do that with his kids.
Yeah,
Marty
can be like, oh, you're flying to Philadelphia. Just a heads up, man. That airport gets really backed up.
Yeah.
Might be a little late to dinner the day before that game.
Yeah, it's just like I think his big time experience is where it comes in, and he's probably part of this is probably from his experience, where his experience of preparing for games, preparing for big games, preparing the same way, kind of the routine of it. He can help a lot with that.
Yep. I read Marty Brodeur's book.
And he could also help them with different things he did for tracking when he was playing, because you're still no matter how you're stopping it, you still got to track the puck.
That's a sick picture.
Yeah.
Look at the stash on that guy. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I believe, wasn't Marty's dad a Vancouver Canuck?
I don't know.
Yeah, father, Dennis Brodeur. Nope. Wrong again, Austin. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe there must have been a different Brodeur or something that played for the Canucks.
Could have been.
That's frustrating. I thought I had that one. But he did play.
Yeah.
Buffalo
junior hockey looks like.
Buffalo Bisons, 1957.
Oh,
58.
AHL. Yeah.
And was he a goalie though? He was.
There you go.
So and he's got a medal. That looks like a bronze medal. One-time Olympic bronze medal.
Interesting.
That's probably before National Leaguers were playing in the Olympics.
Yeah, probably.
Anyways, I mean, not quite what I thought it was going to be. I thought he was an NHLer, but he did play. So, like,
right.
I'd be curious to see if Marty is the way Marty is with his kids because that's how his dad was, or the opposite, or what. Just something.
I don't know. He didn't mention that. But to answer your question, I think the biggest thing you get from Marty, like I said, having played that long, is definitely the experience of how you handle different situations, how you handle bad games, how you evaluate your games, how you prepare, how you're consistent in your preparation, how you handle bad goals, bad games, slumps, all that.
Yeah. Man, I just know it already is, but I know it's gonna be frustrating I would wish I could talk to Marty about it because his kids are obviously they're like our age, so they've already been through every step that we have.
Right.
I know it's just gonna continue to be frustrating when I want to give him my knowledge, but he doesn't want to take the knowledge.
Right.
So there's a little bit of like I got to bite my tongue. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of tongue biting throughout Garner's potential hockey career, So that as a parent of someone who does have the experience is probably going to be frustrating. But
you got to think if you're guiding him through evaluation of things, that he'd be very receptive to that. Because you're not telling him what to do. Yeah. You're helping him on his own figure out what he should have done. He's like, oh, yeah, what was I doing?
I think for the most part, yes. As long as the approach is right and the timing is right, then yes, I think it is.
Right.
I think there's always a window for you to parent.
This is why you're commenting on this because you have the experience with this.
Well, but you could too. Like, think about it. Think about if your parents came up to you and tried to give you or help you in that sort of way, but you had just let in 7 and you're on the way home.
Right.
It's not the time.
Well, yeah.
That's what I was trying to get. So like with kids are weird like that. Like Garner can wake up one day and just I can see on his face like, oh, I can't talk to this kid today.
Right. Even if you're picking him up like, hey, it's okay. We're just going to talk about it. We'll work on it and get better and move on. You don't think he'd be receptive to that?
I think 80% of the time, yeah.
80% of the time he would
80% of the time, yeah. There are times where he ain't going to be receptive to nothing.
He just
I could be like,
he don't want to talk
bud.
at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
If I say good job at the wrong time, I get I don't even want to say it. It's embarrassing as a parent what he would say to me, but if he's something along lines of get lost, Dad.
Yeah. Quiet. Shut up.
Yeah. The respect is not always as high as you think.
I just gave up 7.
Yeah. I don't want to hear from you. Take me home.
I don't want to hear from you. Just get me home.
Get me home.
Thanks
for the Coke Zero.
Yeah.
Get me home.
Yeah. Get me home. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting topic, man. I mean,
it is.
I think it's cool because, I mean, I wasn't sure exactly where we were going to go with it, but I think because obviously being a goalie parent who used to be a goalie, that's a very niche category. Like there's not many people in that scenario.
Yes.
But we kind of, the whole point of it is the fact that you don't need to be because Marty Brodeur doesn't do anything special aside from like
the experience.
In regards to technique and stuff, he doesn't do anything special.
But see, that's why I like it because it applies to everyone.
Yeah.
Whether you've played pro for a long time and now you're have a kid who plays and you're helping them, or you've never played.
Yeah.
You can help them both ways.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add on to that?
I don't think so. I think I did all my adding on in the process of getting to the end here. But
yeah, right.
No, I think there's definitely there's challenges as a hockey parent, regardless of your experience, no matter what. I think if you have experience, like in my case, I just explained my challenges are going to be having to bite my tongue in certain situations.
Right.
And I think on the flip side of that, as a hockey parent, I know it can be frustrating I can only imagine how frustrating it is when you want to help your kid, but you don't have the experience to do so.
Right.
So both sides, there's obviously, but at the end of the day, you just gave everyone almost a step-by-step process in how to be a hockey parent and help your kids without even talking about anything technical. So I think that's great.
See, I thought it was interesting because as a hockey parent, I imagine you want to help your goalie or hockey player as best you can all the time and do whatever you can to help them. And I think that this is a very what I liked about this is that it's a very, I don't know if it's, I guess it's simple but powerful way to help them.
Yeah.
And of course, there's going to be navigating all kinds of different situations, and you'll cross those bridges when you come to them.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as helping them become the best goalie possible, you can help them do that, and at the same time, you're just developing successful life habits, which are going to pay off the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
At the very worst.
And nothing you've said is reinventing the wheel. That's, I think, the really positive thing if I'm a hockey parent listening to this right now. You're just giving I mean, for one, you're as a parent, you're trying to give your kid access to anything they need for them to have success.
Right.
But once you do that, then from there, what do you do? And you broke that down really nicely.
Okay.
Helping them with their preparation, evaluation, all that stuff. And like you said, you don't need 9 years of pro experience to do that.
And you don't have to figure out how to play the position inside out.
No.
To help them.
I'll leave that to the coaches on the ice.
Yeah.
You take care of the rest.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I just thought this was a really cool article by InGoal. So, big time credit to them for publishing this, because I sure enjoyed it. And I want to make sure they get credit for this article, for sure.
Yeah. InGoal's great.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good content, a lot of good stuff. They always have.
They do, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think the main takeaway is help them with preparation, evaluation, setting goals, getting better every day, consistency, which is the rules of success for anything, and you're doing your job.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Going to be a good hockey parent.
Continue to improve.
Yeah. Can't wait to see little Stu.
Yeah.
That kid's going to be dialed in.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's going to be shredded.
Yeah. He'll be a great defenseman.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. You're smart. It's not going to be a goalie.
Yeah. No.
I'm like, dude, you want to be a goalie, Garner?
I'm like, you want to shoot right or left?
Which side of the blue line do you want to work?
Right. Which side of the blue line you want to work?
I'm like, Garner, get in the net. These pucks are flying at you, and it's going to be extremely difficult for the rest of your life. You're going to be miserable. Have fun.